week 10 of the fantasy football season, and here's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking this week. The first guy, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Daniel Carlson, it's been a great season here for him, and this season already 7 double-digit fantasy points for Carlson. I know a couple weeks ago, obviously they got shut out, was this Las Vegas Raider team where he didn't score any points, but this week here versus an Indianapolis Colt defense that bends but don't break on most occasions. I think in this one, in a home ball game once again for this Raider team, Carlson will put up double digits, and I got him number 1, believe it or not, this week in the rankings. Number 2, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Butker last week, it was a down game for him, no doubt about it, missing an extra point. But right here, good matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. This Kansas City Chief offense, they're going to be in the red zone early and often. And even if they score 4 or 5 touchdowns, the Chiefs, and he gets 2 or 3 field goals, that's a pretty big ball game. And I think this Chief team is going to score at least 30 to 40 points in this one. And Buck is going to get many opportunities. So I got him at 2 this week. Number 3, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks. So Jason Myers, he's a guy that's just going out there, and he's putting up double-digit fantasy points pretty much each and every week. The worst game he's had in the last 7-8 weeks here has been 8 fantasy points. So Myers getting a lot of opportunities. The Seattle team, they're playing a high-paced offense, getting in the red zone a lot this season. I know it's a tougher matchup at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Germany, but Jason Myers is a guy right now that he's top 3, top 5 in fantasy points at the kicker position, and he can't be ignored anymore. So I got him at 3. Number 4, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So right now we don't know the status 100% about Josh Allen in this one, and right now it might actually be better for Bass in terms of fantasy football if Josh Allen's out instead of those touchdowns. They might have to be settling with field goals with Case Keenum behind center. And this Minnesota defense, they've been playing pretty solid football over the last few weeks here. But anyway, Tyler Bass, we know he's got a big boot. We know he's on one of the top offenses in all pro football here. And this week I got him at 4. Number 5, Ryan Succop of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Ryan Succop, his floor has been about 7 or 8 fantasy points this season here. He's on an offense this season that's not converting a lot of touchdowns, having to settle for a lot of field goals. And once again here versus Seattle, we could see a few drives where they're going to have to settle, even though we know Seattle's defense ain't all that great versus the pass. And maybe Tom Brady will get things really going now before the bye week. But anyway, Ryan Succop on a team where he's going to get opportunities. This week versus Seattle, I think we'll get a few. And I got him in number 5. Number 6, Graham Gano of the New York Giants. Graham Gano, I mentioned him as a kicker to start this week in my starters video, and rightfully so. Graham Gano this season, 6 fantasy games with double-digit fantasy points. And this Giant team, they don't finish a lot of drives in the end zone as well. Saquon Barkley, if he's not finishing it off, for the most part, they got to settle for 3. And this week here, I think they'll be in the red zone a decent amount versus a pretty weak Houston Texan defense. Giants coming off a bye week. And Graham Gano this week, I think he's good for anywhere from 8 to 12 fantasy points. Number 7, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. So right here, Younghoe Koo, it's been a pretty decent season here for Koo. I know this is a road game for Koo this week at the Carolina Panthers, but this Panther defense as well is a defense that they go out there, they try, no doubt about it, even though last week the Cincinnati Bengals blew the doors off in that one in week 9. But anyway, Younghoe Koo, I think, is going to get a few opportunities in this ball game. This Falcon team, believe it or not, right now are in first place in the division over there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Younghoe Koo on a Thursday night game, it wouldn't be surprising to me if he gets 8 to 10 fantasy points in this one. Number 8, Matt Gay, Los Angeles Rams. So Matt Gay this season hasn't been the greatest this season. It's obviously not his fault. This Ram team, for whatever reason this year, they just can't move the football down the field. I know the offensive line has definitely had some problems, and Matthew Stafford maybe not 100% with his elbow injury, but right now he's in the concussion protocol, and if he can't play in this ball game, here's Matthew Stafford, they're going to have no choice but to settle for a few field goals, most likely, where they're not moving the football with Stafford. I don't think they're going to be moving the football at all. John Wolford is going to be the starter for this Los Angeles Ram team, and that could obviously be a disaster waiting to happen, where this team is not going to move the football much, and Matt Gay might have to settle for a couple 40, 50-yarders in this one. So right here, keep an eye on that Stafford situation, especially on the defensive side of things as well. If Stafford's out in this game, that Arizona Cardinal defense is definitely a good pickup and play this week, but that's another discussion for another video. But anyway, I got Matthew Gay at number 8, number 9, Jason Sanders of the Miami Dolphins. And right now, I know this Dolphin team's getting a lot of touchdowns, and it's just been pretty much all extra points the last few weeks here for Jason Sanders. But in this one versus the Browns, I think he's going to settle for a few field goals. I know this Dolphin team playing a high-powered type of ball game, and they're really throwing the ball all over the field to Waddle and Tyreek Hill, which is a good thing to see with Tua for a guy who his career could have been over on that hit to come back and get going. But anyway, Jason Sanders in this one, I think we'll get a few opportunities. It's a good matchup. And like I said, if you're in a high-powered offense and you're a kicker, you have a chance every week to crack this top 12. Number 10, Will Lutz of the New Orleans Saints. So Will Lutz having a solid bounce-back season this year after the last few seasons banged up and not performing to capabilities. But right now he's healthy. He's getting opportunities. And this Saint offense is another offense that don't finish a lot of drives in the end zone as well. So right here at a decent matchup at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think Will Lutz will get a few opportunities. And I could see this ball game, to be honest, in the mid-teens to low 20s between these two teams, where it's just a lot of field goals on both sides. So Will Lutz this week, number 10, number 11, Brett Maher of the Dallas Cowboys. So the Cowboys coming off bye. This team's getting healthier. They got a good matchup with the Green Bay Packers. And this Packer defense is a bend but don't break type of D, where they've held the opponents for the most part this season. This Packer team at about 22, 23 points per game. But anyway, Brett Maher, we know he's got a big boot. The last few weeks, the numbers have gone down with Dak Prescott back in the starting lineup. And the Cowboys convert more touchdowns with him in there than they did with Cooper Rush. But anyway, Brett Maher, you could turn around. And in this one in Lambeau, he could hit a 40 and a 50-yarder with some extra points. Wouldn't be highly doubtful in this one. So right here, I got him at 11, and the 12th and final kicker I'm ranking this week's Robbie Gould of the San Francisco 49ers. So right here in a high-powered offense, like I said before early in the video, these kickers for the most part are always going to crack the top 12 most likely. When you're in a high-powered offense now with Jimmy G, you got Christian McCaffrey, Kittle's healthy, Debo should be back in this one, and Brandon Ayuk back to form from a couple seasons ago as well. So right here, Robbie Gould, I think he'll get a minimum 2 or 3 field goal opportunities. And I think this Niner team, they're going to score anywhere from the mid-20s to low 30s in this one. So that's good for Robbie Gould this week at number 12. So that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking here for Week 10 of the fantasy football season.